Have you ever been told that true love means forgiveness? That if you really care about someone, you can get past anything? I used to believe that. I really did. I thought our love, mine and Clara's, was strong enough to weather any storm. But some storms don't just pass. They tear down everything you've ever built, leaving you standing in the ruins, wondering how you ever thought you were safe. Our story began like a fairy tale. We met in college, two bright-eyed kids with the whole world ahead of us. She was the star of the debate team, sharp, witty, and with a laugh that could make the whole room feel warmer. I was the quiet one, always with a book in my hand, lost in other worlds. She pulled me out of my shell. She saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself. For 10 years, she was my everything. My best friend, my confidant, my partner in every sense of the word. We built a life together, brick by painstaking brick. We bought a small house with a little garden, adopted a goofy golden retriever, and talked about the kids we'd have one day. It was simple, but it was ours. And it was perfect. Or so I thought. The first crack appeared so subtly I almost missed it. It started with late nights at the office. Clara was ambitious, always driven, so it wasn't out of character. "Just a big project," she'd say, kissing me quickly before rushing out the door. Then came the phone calls she'd take in the other room, her voice dropping to a whisper. When I'd ask, she'd just wave it off. "It's just work drama, you don't want to hear it." I trusted her. Why wouldn't I? This was Clara, the person who knew my soul better than anyone. Trust was the foundation of our entire world. But that foundation was eroding, and I was completely oblivious. The distance between us grew. It wasn't a sudden chasm. It was more like a slow, creeping frost. The easy laughter that used to fill our home was replaced by a tense silence. Our conversations became transactional. Who's taking the dog out? Did you pay the electric bill? The woman I loved was becoming a stranger living in my house. I tried to bridge the gap. I suggested date nights, weekend trips, anything to recapture the magic we once had. But she was always too tired, too busy, too stressed. I started to wonder if it was me. Was I not exciting enough? Had I become boring? I doubled my efforts, trying to be the partner she deserved, hoping to coax the woman I fell in love with back from wherever she'd gone. The truth came out on a Tuesday. A completely ordinary, unremarkable Tuesday. I came home early from work, wanting to surprise her with her favorite takeout. I walked in and heard voices from the bedroom. Her voice, and a man's. The world stopped. Everything just stopped. The air left my lungs. I stood there frozen in the hallway, the bag of food growing cold in my hand. In that moment, 10 years of love, of trust, of shared dreams, shattered into a million tiny, irreparable pieces. The confrontation that followed is a blur of tears and shouting. It was ugly, raw. He was a coworker, someone she'd mentioned in passing. It had been going on for months, months of lies, of secret meetings, of a life she was living completely separate from ours. The most painful part wasn't just the act itself. It was the deception. Every "I love you," every shared glance, every single moment of the past 6 months was suddenly tainted, rewritten as a lie. I looked at the woman in front of me, her face streaked with tears, and I didn't recognize her. Then came the words that would echo in my mind for years to come. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "It was a mistake, a horrible mistake. But love means forgiveness, right? We can get through this. If you love me, you'll forgive me." Forgiveness. She said it like it was a key that could magically lock away all the pain and reset our lives back to what they were. And because I loved her, because the thought of a life without her was unimaginable, I tried. God, did I try. We went to therapy. We talked for hours, days, weeks. I listened to her apologies, her promises that it would never happen again. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to be the bigger person, the strong one who could forgive and move on. I told myself that everyone makes mistakes, that our decade together had to count for something more than this one catastrophic failure. So I forgave her. At least, I said the words. I forgive you. And we tried to rebuild. But it was like trying to build a house on quicksand. The trust was gone. Every time she was late from work, my stomach would twist into a knot. If she smiled at her phone, my mind would immediately jump to the worst conclusions. The ghost of her affair haunted every corner of our home. I'd look at her sleeping next to me and wonder who she was dreaming of. Intimacy became a performance, a hollow echo of what we once had. The joy was gone, replaced by a constant, low-level anxiety. I was living with a ghost. The memory of what she did was always there, sitting between us at the dinner table, lying in our bed. She would get frustrated. "I thought you forgave me," she'd say, her voice tinged with exasperation. "Why can't you just let it go?" How could I explain that forgiveness isn't a switch you can just flip? You can say the words, you can want it with your entire being, but you can't command your heart to unbreak. You can't force your mind to unsee the images it's created. Some wounds are just too deep. They don't heal clean. They leave scars. And every time you look at the person who gave you that scar, you're reminded of the pain. I realized that by staying, I wasn't healing. I was just reopening the wound every single day. Forgiveness, I learned, isn't about forgetting. It's about letting go of the anger and resentment for your own sake. And I did forgive her, in a way. I forgave her for being human, for making a terrible mistake. But forgiving someone doesn't always mean you have to keep them in your life. Sometimes, the most loving act of forgiveness is for yourself. Forgiving yourself for believing in a fairy tale, and giving yourself permission to walk away and start a new story. Leaving was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. It felt like tearing off a part of myself. But it was also the first time in over a year that I could finally breathe. The constant weight on my chest began to lift. The healing process has been long and slow, and it's not over. But I'm building a new life, brick by brick. This time, on a foundation of self-respect and honesty. Love might mean forgiveness, but it also has to mean respect. And I had to learn to respect myself enough to know that I deserved a love that didn't break me. Some wounds never completely disappear, but you learn to live with the scars, and they become a reminder not of the pain, but of the strength it took to survive. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you've been through something similar, know that you're not alone and that your feelings are valid. Healing takes time. If you found this story meaningful, I'd be so grateful if you'd like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps more than you know. Take care of yourselves.